AEW and WCW over the years, because those companies were companies that gave us what we wanted to see every week. If we wanted to see a title match, say on Nitro, the promoters of WCW, Ted Turner and Eric Bischoff, gave us these matches. We didn't have to wait months to see a championship match on Monday nights or Thursday nights or Saturday nights, whatever. We always got championship matches and always got what we wanted from these promotions that WWE always found time to make fun of and bring down, and are continuously doing it years after these companies have folded. And they did it recently at WrestleMania 31. I wouldn't blame Sting if he walked out of WWE and never had anything else to do with them after the way that they treated him the first time ever he competed inside of a WWE ring. I am not for Triple H winning this match. I am not for the invasions of DX and the New World Order, the NWO Wolfpack. I could go without seeing that. I want to see some sort of follow-up done with Sting and Triple H, because I think as wrestling fans we deserve a follow-up for Sting versus Triple H. I think we need answers to the questions that we were left with having unanswered in the follow to WrestleMania 31. And I would go for a second or a third match between Sting and Triple H, because this, I believe, is far from over with how Sting was treated at WrestleMania 31. And I'm not going to deny it for you. I am really pissed off about what happened in the fallout of Sting versus Triple H. I think Triple H is just someone who is very self-absorbed. He's someone who only cares about himself. He's someone who doesn't go above and beyond the requirements of a promoter. He may do that to get names from WCW and ECW we haven't seen in years, like Sting and Batista back. But the thing is, he never puts himself, to the side and gives people from WCW or ECW the benefit of the doubt. Here's the thing about ECW and why we never see ECW alumni in WWE. It's because WWE wants nothing to do with ECW originals, and that's why we're never going to see ECW originals under contract with WWE. The days of Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, Just Incredible are far from over, and we're never going to see them resurrected again. We may see days of WCW resurrected because they were WWE's direct competitor, but they're never going to be directed in the way that we wanted to see them directed for all these years. We're just going to see WCW superstars brought in to WWE, if anything, to be insulted the way that Sting was recently insulted with his loss to Triple H. Now, he did say in the promo the night after WrestleMania 31, in the fallout of WrestleMania 31 and Sting versus Triple H, he did say that he went down swinging, and God knows he went down swinging, and he went down swinging goddamn good and hard. But the thing is, Sting losing this match, I'm not accepting it. I don't want to believe that Sting lost the match, and in my mind and in my heart, we haven't seen the last of Sting in WWE, and he will find a way to get the better of the Authority. Now, the thing that really gave this match away and really put me in doubt, even though I still believe in Sting going into the match, was the fact that Sting was getting the better of Triple H ever since Survivor Series, and every time he would show up on Monday Night Raw or WWE programming in the way of promos. He was always finding a way to freak Triple H out. He was always finding ways of getting the better of Triple H. He would come out and help individuals like Randy Orton and John Cena all the time win matches or against the Authority. So I knew that Sting kind of had a decisive advantage, too much of a decisive advantage going into the match, and it pretty much gave it away that Triple H was going to find a way to weasel his way out of his match with Sting and come up with the victory in that match. But again, I was only expecting Stephanie to get involved in the match, pull interference. Wasn't expecting the involvement of DX in the New World Order, the NWO Wolfpack, the way that we saw it in the NWO Wolfpack standing behind Sting, the Generation X members, the alumni of DX standing behind Triple H, everyone from Sean Waltman to the New Age Outlaws to Shawn Michaels being involved with this angle. They could have been left out of it. If anyone could have been involved with it, you could have had Shawn Michaels and Stephanie be involved with it, someone like Kevin Nash or Hulk Hogan. That would have been enough. You didn't have to have everybody showing up at Sting versus Triple H the way that you did, because it really fucked this match up. And about 6 weeks ago, if you were to tell me, I would have been coming on here in the fallout of WrestleMania 31 saying that Triple H defeated Sting, I would have told you were full of shit, because in my opinion, this is just another ridiculous way of Triple H putting himself over and just to be able to talk about himself and how he beat Sting in an upcoming promo, which we're never going to hear the end of. The other way it could go is that Triple H could remain a heel leading up to the next match between himself and Sting, probably a Hell in a Cell match, a street fight, something like that. We could see almost anything happen from the fallout of Sting versus Triple H. I really don't agree with what happened in this match because, as I said, I was a big fan of Sting going into this match, and it just really disappointed me that Sting lost the match, especially in the way that he did, even though he said he went down swinging. I think he could have went down in a far more appropriate way than what he did. He had the move on Triple H, and then Shawn Michaels comes from out of nowhere, super kicks him the way that he did. Triple H gets the pinfall. It's absolutely ridiculous how this match played out and how the WWE creative team, the writing team, got away with promoting it the way that they did, because there was absolutely no need of this happening, and it was completely unnecessary. The way Sting was treated and how they went from that to having Sting talking about his future, and then Bo Dallas comes out from out of nowhere, and then Sting gives him the Scorpion Death Drop. I mean, it was absolutely pathetic how Sting said on the microphone, he went down swinging, but in all reality, how Sting went down was he was treated like a piece of dirt that was just stamped on by Triple H all throughout this match. Sting, put up a little bit of a fight, but he could put up a bit more fight than what he did, and just the way the whole match was played out was just absolutely ridiculous. The only highlight that really came from this match was when Sting and Triple H shook hands. I liked that at the end of the match, but the match's result could have been a lot better, and I'm sure there are millions of Sting fans out there that feel the same way I do, because I initially predicted that Sting was going to come out of this match with the win. I was really disappointed about that, because week after week after week, I was either writing about how Sting was going to win the match, I was either talking about it on this radio show how Sting was going to win the match. Nobody could convince me that Triple H was going to win. People were saying to me that Triple H was going to win. I just didn't want to believe anybody who was trying to convince me that Triple H was going to win, because to be honest with you, I got my first look at Triple H back in 1996 in November of that year when he was working with Wildman Mark Merrow over the Intercontinental Championship. 1 year after Vince McMahon gave him the opportunity in 95. He wasn't entertaining to watch. I didn't find anything interesting about Triple H's character. I didn't think he was going to go the distance. In WWE, I never have had anything really to like about Triple H. When he was with Shawn Michaels for the first little while, I was trying to become a fan of Triple H. Couldn't get into Triple H as much as what I did Shawn Michaels. About 10 or 15 years ago, there was just never anything interesting about Triple H, and I never have been a fan. I'll go on record for stating on this microphone, I have never been a fan of Triple H or anything that he's done as an executive member of WWE's board, because nothing he has done has really benefited any of us. Yes, he brings back old WCW alumni or old ECW alumni every once in a while, but it's only to disgrace their legacies they previously had built and thrived off of before coming to WWE. And how does someone like Triple H get away with doing that sort of thing? It makes me want to really rip the head of Triple H right off and disgrace his family even more than what I've done over the last 10 years that I've been involved with this wrestling business, for the better part of the last 16, 17 years that I've been covering it in the way of interviews, written columns. It's terrible the way that they did it, and I'm really disappointed in WWE Creative for actually going through with this and approving some of the ideas that came through with this year at WrestleMania 31. Another thing that really frustrated me about this year's WrestleMania, even though I can't do anything about Sting versus Triple H or anything about what next happened, that really frustrated me about WrestleMania 31 was how they false promoted the match really between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Out of nowhere, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar becomes a triple threat match. I don't know if I've ever seen this done with the Money in the Bank briefcase. The Money in the Bank briefcase was cashed in by Seth Rollins halfway through the WrestleMania main event for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Roman Reigns was closing in on the victory after putting up a hell of a fight against Brock Lesnar, who was hell-bent doing anything he possibly could to retain the championship. Roman Reigns pretty much, had a counter for everything Brock Lesnar did and a way of finding a way out of a pinning predicament from Brock Lesnar. And out of nowhere, here comes Seth Rollins to cash in the briefcase the way that he did, changing the one-on-one match to a triple threat predicament where Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar were victims of the curb stomp. And here comes Seth Rollins with the pinfall victory, leaving WrestleMania with the World Heavyweight Championship. I talked about Seth Rollins and how he proclaimed himself as the self-proclaimed future of the WWE and had previously been named the future of WWE by COO Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, the entire authority backing Seth Rollins as the future, with Kane assisting him in capturing what I believe is Randy Orton's briefcase for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship opportunity that he got this year at WrestleMania. The only highlight that came from this match was that Seth Rollins was the first man ever in the history of the briefcase to cash in at WrestleMania after years of individuals like Daniel Bryan and many others teasing they were going to cash in at WrestleMania. I mean, how could you have been more obvious that Seth Rollins was going to leave WrestleMania as champion? I knew that Seth was going to leave WrestleMania as champion. I was hoping that Lesnar was going to retain, but I knew it with how Seth was teasing so much that he was going to cash in the opportunity to be WWE World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania 31. But the way that he did it was really unprofessional. It may have been unpredictable, in the minds of a lot of people, but for that piece of shit, that little weasel, to cash in the briefcase the way that he did, changing the one-on-one match, which was a phenomenal encounter between two phenomenal athletes like Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, the way that he did it was so unprofessional, and I just don't condone the actions of Seth Rollins for getting away with what he did. Brock Lesnar had every right to retaliate the way he did the following night on Raw. You know, he F5'd Michael Cole. He beat the hell out of Booker T and JBL, turning the broadcast table over on them. He F5'd a cameraman multiple times. And a lot of people may say that Brock Lesnar's actions were uncalled for. I know I've heard a lot of people saying that about Brock Lesnar. But Brock Lesnar is going to be promoting a fight in the UFC on April the 11th. He's gone until at least then. But the thing is, the way I looked at it, the way I chose to look at the actions of Brock Lesnar, a video that's been watched so many times over on YouTube.com by wrestling fans because they can't believe the actions of Brock Lesnar, the way I choose to look at this, Brock Lesnar was only making a point, and that point was simply you do not fuck with one of the biggest names in wrestling and the UFC. I mean, Brock Lesnar was a former UFC and WWE champion, a record 4 times for Brock Lesnar, with one reign being for the World Heavyweight Championship, which he acquired from John Cena at SummerSlam last year and has held ever since. Brock Lesnar is entitled to a rematch clause. He wasn't given it by Stephanie McMahon, and she allowed that Brock Lesnar had announced on SportsCenter that Brock Lesnar had re-signed with WWE, which he did, which I have a great deal of respect for Brock Lesnar for doing and being very openly honest with wrestling fans about. But the way that she went about, saying that Lesnar had re-signed by saying that she owned that son of a bitch, I mean, it makes me wonder, how are WWE just getting away with annoying us all the time with these pointless facts that we don't care about? All we care about is the fact that Brock Lesnar has re-signed with WWE, and we're hoping Lesnar has not re-signed with WWE to be fucked out of every opportunity that Brock Lesnar will be given. Yes, Brock Lesnar defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, but for what? Brock Lesnar went from being the man to be 21-1 against The Undertaker. He went from 21-1 against The Undertaker to losing the championship to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31 the year after. I mean, really, what was the point of having Brock Lesnar defeat The Undertaker when nothing was really done with Brock Lesnar? He had a little bit of a win streak going for himself, seemingly unstoppable. Nobody could beat Brock Lesnar, and the former UFC champion leaves WWE on what they're allowing as a suspension to go to UFC again to promote a fight